What makes life meaningful? Stay tuned. This is Damon Cart from NLP Gym. The secret to creating life-defining moments. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. What are some of your life-defining moments and experiences? When you reflect on your life, what memories come up when you think of something that was life-changing, transformational? Maybe it was a career change, or you fell in love, or there was a new direction in your life, or maybe you found your purpose. When you think of those experiences, doesn't it seem like it was something magical that it happened, it just kind of came out of nowhere? The truth is, you're actually creating these experiences, and when you understand how you're creating these experiences, you can then have more control in creating these experiences and choosing the meaning of your life and choosing even the meaning of each individual moments and experiences. The fact that it seems magical adds a lot more meaning for a lot of people. So yes, in a sense, I am going to be that guy who tells you how the magic trick is done. A lot of people don't like that. So if you're one of those people, you might want to stop watching now, because I'm going to expose the magic trick. The reason I want to do this, I think it's important because if this process is unconscious, then a lot of times you experience life as sort of like a victim of circumstance and a victim of life, and just whatever comes your way. You're really happy when things go well, you get down when things aren't going well, and you just think, I don't have any control, this is just life. Well, you do, and there is a structure to how you do this. And by the way, a lot of this, what I'm talking about here, is based on the work of Steve Andreas, his work in the self-concept model and scope and category. So if you want to do further study into this, I recommend his books. The truth about experience is that it's actually arbitrary. Moments are arbitrary. You've been living one continuous, uninterrupted life, yet we mark out certain areas of our life and we call that an experience, or we call that a moment. But like I said, since you were born, you've been living this uninterrupted life. So there, in a sense, you don't have a sense of being born. You also don't have a sense of death or an actual experience of death. But in your mind, you have a conceptual understanding of that, and you create a beginning to your experience and an end to your experience, which also implies that there's a middle. What holds the experience together is the concept of progress. You start at one point and you end up at the end point. The middle is how you get there. All of this is actually arbitrary, though, because there is no fact that this was the beginning of your experience and this was the end of your experience. If we think about it, if your life has been this one continuous existence, you don't have a memory of being born. Therefore, you don't have an experience of going from non-living to living, which would be this here. Suddenly, the lights just went on and you became aware. And ever since then, your awareness has grown into what you are now. And then as far as death goes, is we have this idea that this is going to end because we've seen other people pass away, and in our minds, that's the experience of life. There's birth, there's life, and then there's death. But you don't have an experience of that because you're obviously watching this, so you're still alive. So knowing that an experience is arbitrary and that's not actually real, that it has an arbitrary beginning and an arbitrary end, now you can actually make changes to this. Why would you want to do that? If your experiences are arbitrary in the sense of when they begin and when they end, and the midpoint, meaning you choose a certain point in your life to mark out a beginning of an experience and then to mark out an end of an experience, and then you have this stuff that goes on in between. Once you do that, you step back and make meaning of that experience. When you make meaning of that experience, then you have other experiences that also have meaning. And when those experiences, when you identify common elements, you generalize those experiences together to create a category. Once you create this category, you reflect that back onto yourself, and that becomes a part of your identity. It sounds complicated, it's really not. Just think about it like this. You have an experience, you have enough of those experiences, you create a generalization based on common elements between those experiences. This is also known as a belief. You have enough experiences of something, you begin to believe that that's the way things are, and you project that belief onto the world, which is how you give meaning to it, and you reflect that belief onto yourself. That's how you get your identity. If you know how this works, you can change it, and that's what NLP is. That's what it does. A little bit more about that later. Let's say I have an experience. What a lot of people try to do is, when they want to have a different experience, they try to go at it by changing the meaning. This is backwards. When you try to go at this by the meaning first, then you're bumping up against all this structure. It's sort of like trying to push a boulder up a hill. You might get there, but it takes a lot of effort, a lot of willpower, a lot of attention, and along the way, you're probably going to slip and let the boulder roll down and have to go and push it back up over and over. So if you try to go to the meaning first and you say, okay, I don't like the way I feel about this, or I don't like the way I feel about my life, I'm just going to change it. Again, it can work, but you're bumping up against all of this structure. This is why affirmations often don't work. This is also why the fake it until you make it will work sometimes, but a lot of times it doesn't work because you're bumping up against structure. You're bumping up against all of the underlying stuff that is holding your beliefs in place. But I can go in here and I can change the structure, and that's what NLP does. You change the structure. How am I coding this experience? Sometimes it even can change just by changing the beginning point and the end point. It can change just by changing however you're representing it. Like if it's something you represent visually, what happens when you change the colors? What happens when you make the pictures bigger, brighter, or smaller? If you're doing it auditorily, you can change the structure of that. Where are you hearing this coming from? Is it a voice? In what direction is it coming from? What does it sound like? How loud is it? And the same thing can be for the kinesthetic, the actual tactile feelings that you have, or proprioceptive. Know this: you are creating the meaning of your experiences, the meaning of your life, and the meaning of who you are. Because you are doing this, you can change it. For most people, this is unconscious. You can have the freedom to be in charge of your own destiny, because that is what making meaning of your life is about. When you learn NLP, you learn the coding of this structure, and then how to change the structure to get the meanings that you want. And the meanings that you want in life are based on your values. When you're experiencing your values, your life will have meaning and purpose and joy, and it'll make you happy as well. It will also raise your self-esteem. Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. There you will find an opportunity to get your hands on some free NLP training. If you like this video, please click like right down here and leave me a comment or a question. I will follow up with you. Remember to subscribe to get these videos on a regular basis. Take care.